Are you getting numb to all the misinformation and dishonesty? Are you able to keep up? The Toronto Star is trying to keep up. They have a tally of Trump's falsehoods. You see the newest headline here, 71 false things in 14 days. The conclusion from the fact checker is that his dishonesty is increasing. You've heard me talk a lot about this, about the president's false claims, not right lies. Of course, there's a lot of outrage in the press about that, especially this week, given the dishonesty around the immigration debate. But look, let's confront how this really works. The more stories there are, the more challenges to President Trump, the more criticism of him, the more fact checks of him. It seems the more that Trump supporters embrace the president. They pull him more close to them, and we've seen that again and again at rallies and in polling, etc. In fact, Trump's approval among his base still remarkably high. These are numbers that any Republican president would envy. So let's talk about that with Glenn Beck. He's the CEO of The Blaze, and he joins me now. Glenn, a lot to get to. I know I mentioned before the break that you put on that Make America Great Again hat recently. You were trying to say something about the news media's coverage of him, about all the criticism of him. What were you trying to say?
Yeah, that you have become me, circa 2009.
Is that a compliment? Wait, is that a compliment?
No, it's not. And you don't see it. None of you are willing to listen to what you're doing, and you're dividing us even more. We've had two people threaten the lives of either a congressman's child or the president's child. Where are the people that were so worried about language and the tone on television? You just had George Takei talking about Japanese internment camps. What's next? FEMA camps? Don't you understand what you're doing? You're driving people into the arms of Donald Trump. You're driving them into it.
Exactly.
Because
so that's what I'm trying to ask about. So when we point out that he's lying every day, it drives people into his arms. What is the right answer then? If we don't point out the lies, then what?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize the mistakes of the past. I can't take this border issue because I wasn't allowed into anybody's circle after my audience raised $3 million, and we risked everything to go down to the border. And we brought churches together. We actually fed the homeless. I was mocked for bringing them soccer balls, which people now say is a good thing because at least they have soccer balls at summer camp. And on the other side, no one in the media would even listen. No one would listen when I said,
Glenn, that's not true. There was lots of coverage of it in 2014. I remember you going to the border in 2014. Obama's policy might have been ugly. It's a lot worse now.
Was there this kind of coverage?
There weren't as many kids.
When you had,
there weren't as many kids in jail.
Oh, stop it.
Stop what? There were not as many kids in jail.
You're telling me, so it's the number. So what's the number, Brian, that we care about putting kids in cages? What's the number that we start caring about when we're separating family,
and the
when
more
we're
there are,
separating
the
children?
more we care.
What's the number?
The worse it gets, the more coverage there should be. Do you disagree with that? The worse it gets, the more coverage there should be.
No, Brian. When we're doing things to children and breaking them up, no, I don't think there's a problem with covering if it's 10 kids. It should be covered. No one wanted to see it.
And when there's thousands,
by the way, that time...
there was a lot of coverage in 2014. But I respect that there's more now.
Look, okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is why people who don't necessarily even support Donald Trump are saying, you know what? I've baked in the lies. I know. I got it. But the journalists now are like saying, well, two can play that game. Neither one of you are self-aware enough to know that there is justice and mercy. One's arguing justice, one's arguing mercy, or they say they are, but they're not. All they're doing is playing politics, and the American people are tired of it. Who is talking about an actual solution on this? Who's actually done something? Who's actually consistent and cared when it was a Democrat in office and cared when it's a Republican in office? You know, those people exist around the country, and they're watching you two, the media and Donald Trump, playing this little game back and forth, and they're sick of it. They don't want to hear about it from either side.
I want the critique because I invited you on. I'm self-aware enough to know that we need to talk about this because I know it's a problem. The mainstream media is having a very hard time. The mainstream media is having a very hard time reaching Trump's base. That's a fact. We see that in all the polling.
Yeah, well, then here's the deal, Brian. You all have my phone number. I've reached out to all of you in the past and said, let's have a conversation not on the air. You really want to understand? You want to hear the other side?
Why can't our viewers?
Then let's have a conversation where everybody's
not interested. Why can't you tell our viewers right now?
Because it's all about ratings. Because this is all about ratings. This isn't about ratings. This is about saving our country, bringing us together. Stop dividing us. I mean, I can't.
So to be clear, you think that I'm dividing the country? You think I'm dividing the country for ratings by booking you?
Brian, stop. Look at what you're doing. When did this become about you? This is about the media and the administration. That's what you guys want to make it into.
If it was about me, I would do like a 10-minute commentary the way you used to. If it was about me, I'd get out of Blackboard the way you used to.
Okay. Well, then maybe you should.
I mean, the point is, what you mean is making it about me? I don't see how I've made it about me. I want to know how.
It's not about it. You just said, never mind. Look, Brian, if you want to have a conversation, the media really wants to know, great, we can have that conversation. But every time I've approached, everybody always says yes. But as soon as it gets tough or uncomfortable, nobody's interested. Nobody's interested in looking at themselves and saying, what did I do? I know what I've done. I know what I've done. I've tried to make amends, and I'm trying to...
And we've talked about that before. I completely agree with you. And we all do need to be more self-reflective. To ask you, there's this new headline on the Daily Beast saying that your company's in trouble, that you were trying to find a buyer. Is this related to the point about people not talking to each other? That if you want to create that media company, there's not interest? What's going on with that?
Wow. Brian, thanks a lot. I think that's the most ridiculous question I've ever heard. I'm sitting here ready to talk to you about the detaining of children and parents and trying to break families apart, something that has been happening with Janet Reno. That's why it went to the Supreme Court in the first place. With Janet Reno, it's been happening. We want to stop it, and you want to play those games? Have a nice day.
What game did I just play? So the question on the Daily Beast website, the headline says, Glenn Beck's media empire is imploding. Again, that's the headline on the Daily Beast. It is well known that Glenn has been trying to sell the Blaze. There was talk about a deal with the Daily Wire. According to the Daily Beast, that fell through. You can read the full story on the Beast website. Frankly, I thought Glenn deserved it.